ready. We ready.
Hey, we ready for Chiron. We're not ready for Chiron and Taurus. Welcome. Welcome, y'all.
No one is. No one is.
Welcome.
Hello. Welcome you. Welcome them.
This is Astro in Negro, Astro in Black. I am Lady Emerald, a weaver of Black spirituality, astrology, history, all that good stuff. And I'm joined here by my co-host.
Yes, Dr. Lady D Emerald. I always love to remind y'all who is sitting next to me. Thank you. I am Liz Flo, your crystal dealer, not of meth, but of healing crystals.
Award winning.
Ignite award winning for my CNF, speculative CNF, which is creative nonfiction. I'm a poet, a writer,
a polyglot,
student, because I study. A polyglot, yes. And just like all around creative and spiritual something of many things. I am your practitioner's guide most of the time. So that is who I am. Okay. Anything else on my spirit? So things I'm getting downloads on, but that's not for y'all. So welcome. Astrologer, tarot reader. Boom. There we go.
Oh yeah. So we're here to talk about something that has been plaguing us for a while. An episode that we have been like, I would say dreading, but we've been anticipating. And even as we researched and everything, we was like, this is just going to have to come from the dome, come off the heart, about Chiron and Taurus. And so I guess we can like jump straight into it, because Chiron is an asteroid.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's an asteroid. I think you have more.
It used to be a planetoid.
Really? Okay, break it down for us.
Yeah, it used to be a planetoid. They were trying to figure out what it was, because they found it between Saturn and Uranus, but then it was also like in a belt of some kind between Mars and some other girl. And so they were unsure what to call it at first in like the 1970s. And finally decide Chiron as an asteroid. I think it's an asteroid. Yeah, it's an asteroid. And so what Chiron is about, the mythology behind Chiron, is that it is the wounded healer. If we think about, Greek mythology and Homeboy, who like wanted to create people out of clay and whatever, and then he gets in trouble with the gods, because I guess he's been God too, and put out to like have a piece of his like heart or liver or some shit. These Greek gods was on to be like every day, heals itself, and he starts to. So he's always wounded in a way, but that's kind of the concept.
He's also
he didn't want to like. I don't know. Things are the humans.
So he sounds like he's a self healer, which is probably why Chiron shows up the way it does in the astrological charts. It's like, you have to heal this wound yourself. No one else can help you heal this wound. And I think Chiron has been in Aries for how long? For like past like 10 years, something like that. It's like the longest transit for Chiron, and I personally am ready
Ever.
for.
Ever.
I'm ready for Chiron to move out of Aries for sure. But it makes me antsy about Chiron and Taurus because Chiron and Taurus. Now there are people who have Chiron and Taurus automatically. So when Chiron is in Taurus, it's this fear of losing stability, material possessions. I mean, this can also mean like mental stability too, emotional stability. But Taurus is an earth sign, so it really deals.
Yes.
Like compared to the other earth signs, if Capricorn is resources, and then Taurus is like the physicality, the grounding, right? The earth, the house, right? It's this loss, this fear of loss of
tangible.
Right. But funny enough, like Taurus is also about sensuality and sexual pleasure as well. So it's also the fear of sensuality, the fear of losing art, of safety, security, the loss of abundance, the loss of love. Because Taurus like is ruled by Venus, and Venus like rules that part too. And so it affects the self-worth in your sexual life. And so, like, if you are a person with Chiron and Taurus, you are constantly kind of dealing with these things. And as a person who has a South Node in Taurus, I can kind of see, I can kind of relate. Like, and so yes, your South Node, I think the South Node kind of grounds, you kind of come to reality of this past. Of this like thing you can ground in, but you can't really pull into your north node into your future. But I think that's interesting that, especially with Taurus being the opposite of Scorpio. Like Scorpio's talking about deafness, like, and like Scorpio talks about transformation, and then here's Taurus. It's like I'm talking about grounding, and so Chiron and Taurus is like this loss of this weird loss of groundingness. And so, you know, I think it's just interesting.
Also, the thing to note is like in the charts, Taurus rules the second house. So it's also the fear of a loss of value across the board that can be embodied and is tangible. Right. And so that is the thing, right? When you think of Taurus, you think of hedonism, of some indulgence, of high quality fabrics, things that you can sense and touch and live comfortable and well, right? And part of that is being well fed. It's having resources available to us. It is also being well clothed and having our basic needs taken care of to the point that we can create comfort for ourselves. And that is really hard to do when usually the wounds in childhood are these were the struggles that your parents went through and couldn't provide that environment for you. So you kind of either feel afraid to lose what you have created for yourself, or it is never enough for you to feel safe in, can be another manifestation of that, right? Or you're only as good as how much stability you have created for yourself.
And that ties it back into the self-worth thing. And you know, which goes back into kind of, you talked about like, no, the second house deals with self-worth, but it also deals with income, which is why Chiron and Taurus people also have this scarcity mindset when it comes to money, right? The lack, the fear of losing money, because you lose your material possessions, you lose your stability, especially in a capitalistic world. And when you were talking about like fabrics, I have something about fashion that when we get to predictions. Yeah, some conversations been like coming up in fast fashion, synthetic versus natural fibers. I think it's going to be a huge thing.
We already see it.
Correct.
We already see that it's coming.
So, because Uranus and Taurus.
That makes sense.
Introduce us to the instability. Uranus and Taurus introduce us to the instability of fashion. But we'll get
Mhm.
into that as we come into the modern age.
And what is also interesting, when they were trying to figure out what Chiron was, they found in between Saturn and Uranus, right? As well, I don't remember the other planet, but if we think about just Chiron being in between Saturn, Uranus, and Mars, you have this almost visceral feeling of restriction, but also a lack of control. And I think that makes Chiron, that's like a perfect way to describe Chiron, but also because you've experienced these things, you are able to support people, often working to help people through those kind of issues.
Mm. Mm.
Because that's
Well,
the thing. There's still a healer portion to that, right? It's kind of like the person who is not the person who struggles with feeling safe is able to create a safe atmosphere for someone. It's kind of like the catch-22 of Chiron in general.
oh, absolutely. Because you're a healer, but you also have to heal yourself. You can't.
So, yeah.
You can't pour too much into
Yeah.
the next person.
Not
I think this is why. I do have a thing that people with Chiron in Taurus.
Mm-hmm. I'm over here looking for something.
People with Chiron in Taurus, I wonder, do they also go through people stealing their money, people stealing their things? Do they go through a high amount of people trying to rob them, like their physical home? If you have a Chiron in Taurus, I think current day people who have a Chiron in Taurus are born between 1977 and 1984. Let us know if you have problems. This is coming, 77 to 84 is like the Xers moving into the true millennial. So that age group, they're now in their mid 40s to mid 40s to lower 50s, basically. No, they're basically in their mid to upper 40s right now. Let us know, right? Like, what do you experience those things? Have you found that people are stealing money from you? Have you found that you've been robbed more than usual? Let us know.
Or
I think that's a huge
have
thing.
you had to create boundaries around supporting your family or being the main breadwinner to the point that it is at your expense?
Yeah.
Because that's another, right? Of like, first generation able to really get paid really well, and then the economy and what you were actually making, be it that you're making big bucks, that little 150, 200,000, it don't hit like it did in the 80s.
Never.
And so you got to create boundaries and learn boundaries around how much support and value you are giving as well, and how much do you keep for yourself? Because I think Chiron definitely is boundaries, and what is it, decentering things.
Well, when we get into that portion of the episode, I really do wonder, those who were born through that time, are they economically more well off than the rest of those people in those generations? And is it because they were born during it? Like, I think
Yes,
because we get it's some connections there that it's gonna come
as
up.
someone
Yeah.
who knows Taurus placements, they do well for themselves, but there is volatility that I think they encounter. Because, like, the opposite to Taurus is Scorpio. And so I'm sure that there are ongoing rebirths around this wound that they have to deal with. Because it would be opposing anything that they have in the Scorpio house.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we'll talk more about that because it's gonna bring up some other things.
Let's do it.
And so hopefully y'all have a gist of Chiron and Taurus, and now we're going to kind of go through history and blow it up how Chiron and Taurus impacts society. And so in the past century, it's done a doozy. So the first time of modern history, right? Modern history, post Civil War, modern history, post 1900, right? 1926 to 1934, Chiron is in Taurus. Everyone should know those dates. Those dates should feel familiar. Okay, we learned about it in history. We talk about the Great Depression. It is the worst economic downfall in modern history, right? We're talking about this impacted. The Great Depression is great because it did not only impact the United States, it impacted the whole world because the whole world was coming from World War One. Then it was the Great Depression and then World War Two.
Mm-hmm.
Very ghetto first 50 years of the world.
Yeah.
of the 1900s. And the Great Depression was from 1929 to 1934. The Great Depression. So here's the thing where I need like historians to be for real. Because they were like, the number one cause of the Great Depression was lower consumer demand. So we were not buying things. Now this is true, but my thing is like, then that's not the cause. Why did people stop? So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. But it was like because people weren't buying in cash, people were starting to buy in credit. Now I recently found out that like the credit thing, that used to be a taboo for U.S. Americans. Like we used to not put things on credit. So all the previous wars we did in cash. Imports, exports, if we didn't have it, we didn't credit it. Now, I guess as because of the Industrial Revolution and the turn of the century, and we were building up these like cities really quickly, right? And y'all go back to our previous episodes, we talk about Uranus and Gemini and this reindustrialization that's happening, right? So that was, they're still dealing with that. Going to the 1900s, we also have a decreased industrial production. So they did all of that, and now a decreased industrial production, consumer debt, consumers not buying, and then people buying up the stock market recklessly, right? From there, we also had farm foreclosures, known as the Dust Bowl.
Ooh.
Are we already starting to connect current things right now that's happening in the U.S.? Correct.
Yes. I actually saw something recently about how it was actually on Twitter. Somebody posted, it's from 60 Minutes, where corporations or like private equity, et cetera, are ruining farming because they're putting farmers out of business because they're forcing them to do X, Y, Z, use certain seeds, blah, blah, blah.
So like even people, so we have a running joke about like, I want some new food. Like people like, I'm tired of eating the same thing. I want some new food. But when farmers are pushed to not actually farm and produce the variety of vegetables, the variety of corn, the variety of greens, but it's only right, because of the major corporations, like it's like the brain, the human brain is like, I want, like, where's the new meat? Where's the vegetables? Like it's like it's because of major corporations, and also during this time, right? A lot of people talk about, okay, yes, the farming foreclosures also mean the decrease in sharecropping in the South as well, that went to an increase in lynching for Southern Black Americans. So people talk about the Harlem Renaissance during this time. I said, but Harlem is just a neighborhood. Harlem did not represent the totality of Black, right? yes, we start to see like more of the Great Migration start to happen during the 1920s and 30s, but that's because of the Great Depression, the increase of lynching, right? Because once these people start to lose everything, instead of pointing at the government, pointing at the impact of World War One, they start to go like have more violence against people that they have learned to not like, which have been Black and Indigenous folk. And so we also have this, like, it took World War II to get us out the Great Depression, because while everybody was at war, how they woke up the bear of them, because America went silent after the Great Depression.
It was like a hermiting.
Right. And so once they're like, hey, can you get into war? Can you help us with production of things? So it was the production of World War II that got America out of the Great Depression. However, during the Great Depression, like, we started to take a turn for the better in 1933, 1934. So when Chiron and Taurus was at the last. Now that is during when President Roosevelt did the Great New Deal, right? The New Deal. Now, from the New Deal, this is why I was like, I want historians to be for real about why consumers were not
making purchases.
Like, and it's because they didn't have housing. The major part of the New Deal, right, was we were still coming out of World War One. So we start to have this introduction to public housing. We get our public housing authorities. And we start to have all this federal money going towards housing, to not only like build housing for how much, because the population still boomed. Like, I think from the beginning of the 30s or the beginning of the Great Depression, that we were like at 122 million, but by the end of the Great Depression, we was at 132 million. Like, it was still a population boom, even with the economic downfall. And so during the New Deal, we see some more stability start. Like, we started to make a turn. Well, yeah, because y'all started putting money where it's supposed to be going. You knew your cities were booming. You knew after World War One, people were going to be migrating. You've seen this, like, and so
it's not new.
It's not. No, people are not as smart back then. I don't know what was going on, but they were like, the GDP fell by 30%. It was like unemployment was 20% by 1933.
All of those things that we're not doing this year.
Now we can go to the correlation. I did the numbers. I did the correlations. I did it. I did it. Okay, so if it was 20% of 122 million people, we're gonna say 127. So that's about 37 million people out of a job in the 1920s. Right now, we're at about almost 8 million people out of a job as of November 2025, right? But we do technically have a much larger population of 350 million. But we also know the labor reports are not correct, because NOVA is also accounting for underemployment. Most Americans are underemployed currently, and so that's a whole other discussion. A lot of stuff some of the stuff I'm pulling from my own dissertation about housing. That's how I was able to connect the dots.
Dissertation.
I was able to pull some of the things I'm telling y'all about, like,
yeah.
So, but like, that was kind of like the linking for me, like, okay, like, I'm clicking, because the second housing authority in the United States came in 1934, which is the Memphis Housing Authority, Public Housing Authority.
That's so interesting.
So we're talking about Chiron and Taurus. You're like, at the end of Chiron and Taurus, America starts to heal itself, and it's like, the root to a lot of this was farming and housing, food and housing, basic human rights and needs led to the Great Depression, or led to the Great Depression. And so now, as Chiron went out of Taurus, it started to heal itself. Who would have? Who Clearly not
This is
them.
gonna be y'all gonna see the parallels once I get to my side. Keep
It's
going.
gonna be crazy. I'm done with my side for that
Okay.
time. I think a lot of people learned. Well, maybe it's a refresher for a lot of people who should have learned about the Great Depression.
Even
Yeah.
I did. It's
Listen.
amazing. It's the one thing I do know.
they
Cause
were like, you gonna learn anything else? You gonna learn what? The Great Depression and Civil War. That's it.
right. So let us begin from 1926 in Puerto Rico. Picture it, Puerto Rico. So, well, Puerto Ricans, because we're in New York right now in 1926. It began Los Choques in 1926. Los Choques are like choque can be a impact or like an accident, but it's in this case it's like the fisticuffs that happened. The older waves of immigrants, Jews, Italians, and the Irish, began attacking Puerto Ricans because everyone's starting to see the decline in like jobs are terrible, housing is terrible. There's the choosing of certain people over other people, and so they start attacking Puerto Ricans that had been kind of like the newer migrators. And what it did was that Puerto Ricans began to unite in Harlem. This is in New York. And it created a sense of home, of casa, and it sparked a push for civil rights across the board. So New York, Puerto Rico, the feeling of home, etc.
Stability.
Right? And so that's when you start seeing better opportunities, but also fighting for stability, right? And so there was an article that you sent where the people, other countries also impacted by the Great Depression. You have Peru, you have Cuba, you have like 2 to 3 other places as well. But like, you got to remember that America was in everybody's business, and therefore being in everybody's business means they become dependent on you. And if you're fucking up, everyone's fucked up. So we continue. So a hurricane flooded the rivers in Puerto Rico. It also impacted the Greater Antilles. We have Nassau, we have Cuba, we have Haiti, we have Jamaica. So basically everybody kind of like in the upper portion of the Caribbean is heavily affected by this, which what does that do? That affects crops, that affects agriculture, that affects infrastructure. All right. It affects trades. Haiti. So from 1915 to 1934, the Marines, it was a U.S. occupation via having the Marines in Haiti. Okay. And the point was, and they did this all across the Caribbean, was to curtail, in Haiti specifically, the practice of voodoo, but they didn't realize that wasn't going to fucking happen. But there were criminal prosecutions, and they were deployed to Latin America and different parts of the Caribbean Sea to protect American interests, prevent European recolonization of these places, and to stamp out indigenous forces and culture. Okay? In 1933, I don't know why I'm trying to scroll on my page. I'm overly. In 1933, we go back to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was already suffering due to the occupation of America, right? So Puerto Rico was occupied by Spain first, then America. So all of these occupations, all they did was provide economic instability. Go figure. Because they're pillaging resources from the island. Then there's a hurricane in 1928 that is devastating across the board, which lowers trade even further, right? And then kind of like those ending degrees of Chiron, we're heading into 1933, and there are labor strikes in August of 1933, lasting 2 years. And it was radical labor organizing by, guess who? Pedro Albizu Campos. Y'all have heard this name already, okay? And Jose Enamorado Cuestas. The boycotts of U.S. petroleum and electricity. They said we'd rather sit in the dark, okay? Of 16,000 workers. And that's when Roosevelt creates the PR Reconstruction Administration as a band-aid to create and support socioeconomic infrastructure. It was really that those strikes was beating their ass. And then Haiti. We go back to Haiti. And Haiti also had some action going on. And so by August 7, 1933, there's negotiations of the Haitianization of the Guard and finances, because of course the Marines were messing with finances, and the U.S. was all up in Haiti's business. So the withdrawal of the Marines happens that August 7th, 1933, and further negotiations ending U.S. financial control. Why? The Marines being in the Latin America and all of that are called the Banana Wars. In Creole, they call it La Guerre Banane. And it was basically when America was trying to take over and Americanize all of these different places, not realizing, especially in Haiti, that through voodoo, all the more there will be resistance, right? Because that is the point. And so there's the Caco Wars. The Caco Wars are basically what we would call guerrilla warfare of the Haitian and previously enslaved, who were just not fucking with it. They were resisting the US. And I think it beat their ass so bad that they were forced to withdraw. That's my revisionist history there. Okay. But like these are all summaries. I definitely want to research this further, but that is what we have, and then we get to the 1970s. So what do you have?
So one of the things, like going back into leading to kind of, we've been talking about like money and everything. Remember, like Uranus and Gemini kind of over like is right after after Chiron and Taurus, and kind of talk about the globalization and this new money that comes. Like everyone agrees that the US dollar becomes like this. It's now all is starting to connect and tell this bigger story, and I think that's kind of what
the dots.
I think astrology is just a huge tool of storytelling as well, and so everything's starting to connect. Hopefully, it's starting to connect with the people who are listening. So now we move into the 1970s, right? Chiron and Taurus from 1977 to 1984. And in the U.S., it is the U.S. is coming out of a recession. Actually, it's coming out of a recession, leading into 1977. And during this time, unemployment is like 9%. Like, yeah, it's 9%. And during this time, we get another big housing act. It's called the Community Development Act. In 74, we get the Community Development Act, but we don't see it fully implemented until like 1976, 1977, where cities get to really decide, right? Really get to decide how to revitalize their neighborhoods, their cities. So it's not just housing; it's the whole stability, the whole infrastructure needs to be of these cities. And so instead of Fed, like, cause like we get HUD in like the 1960s. Like what we know as the housing and urban development does not exist for real until like recently. And so public housing goes through all this transformation, and Fed is like, listen, let's just put everything in the city's hands. So that's when we start to see kind of this transition of power from Fed to city and states, which is also another reason why the United States is so discombobulated. So that's why I tell people, like, your state is its own country. Don't get mad. Talk to your state. Talk to your city. Because we see kind of this transition of federal trying to heal itself by, like, let's shift things to the city and states. And during this, we also get Jimmy Carter coming in, introducing solar to the White House. Jimmy Carter helping bring in the Department of Education. Without Jimmy Carter, we would not have the stability, right, of a lot of the fields that have come to help us. We would not have the stability of NIH, HHS, public health without Jimmy Carter starting kind of like this. Let's listen to the early 60s and early 70s and start really thinking about the earth. So that's how the White House got into being, before our current administration, started to be like one of the first bigger buildings that start to do solar energy. Right? But then for some reason, the boomers voted in Ronald Reagan. So then we start Ronald
I got so much beef with that guy.
Reagan, right? And when he comes in, the U.S. goes through another short recession. So it went through a recession from 1973 to 1973 to 1976. Then we go to another short recession, 1980 to 1982. Through this, we get the Economic Recovery Act, where we okay, so here's another thing. This is connection, y'all. After the Great Depression, we get the Social Security Act. Okay? During the short recession, we had to borrow from Social Security to help the recession. And the short recession really focused on construction, unemployment, and manufacturing. Some of the same things we were dealing with in the Great Depression. So we had to borrow from the Act, or the Social Security, right, that kind of helped restabilize us after the Great Depression, because there was also a Farmers Act after the Great Depression that helped with everything like that. But guess who helped him come up with the economic policy? It was a financial astrologer. Did you know there was a financial astrologer that readily helped the Reagans out with the economics of the United States? Did you guys know that? Now, did when the U.S. went to an upswing, did they put the money back? Yes, they did put the money back. However, we are now kind of dealing with another type of debt. I mean, we can get into that. I don't think the Department of Education and the student debt in the future, what we're about to discover in Chiron and Taurus, could we say that's connection? We will probably find out when we do a special episode at the end of season 2 revolving around the Department of Education's chart. But there's a niggling in the back of my brain, like, hey, think about
this. Something. Yes, and I don't know where I saw it. I don't know if it was in my research, but there was something about how debt was created. What was the first year? 1926. So this is before that. But anyway, just like debt being created um through France, but it's not like during Chiron and Taurus. But we are also not checking prior to 1926, right?
That's true.
So it's like how long? 17 to 13 years? I don't even know. 10 years?
Yeah, yeah. Right under 10 years.
What are your dates?
1977.
So it's slightly under 10 years.
Yeah, slightly under. We talk about like 8 years. 7 to 8 years dealing with Chiron and Taurus.
So I would say Chiron and Gemini probably created the debt that France imposed on Haiti, where they actually owe Haiti a few billions of dollars. But yeah, debt.
You know, all this just like makes me
think definitely a Chiron and Taurus type of vibe.
It just makes me think how like we have kind of like just how we were like last episode we were talking about like big Jupiter. We don't know when Jupiter's blessing. We really don't really pay attention to like how much Uranus is like a canary bird, right? Because Uranus in Taurus starts to shine a light on the instability of our economic systems. And then you come Chiron and Taurus, like, now heal it. And like, just like we were saying, like, Uranus now heal it, right? And like, now Uranus and Gemini is probably gonna come in and like, see all this BS. Chiron and Gemini's gonna be like, now heal it. You know, like, I think we have not been paying attention to
and we're seeing it. I think and I also think that the things coming to a head where everybody can see it to the point that it's undeniable with the movement of Chiron and Taurus coming in is not just heal it, it's what are you going to do about it, right? Are you going to lay down and die?
Are you going to continue the same wound?
Or are you finally going to overcome this wound through the audacity and
of knocking this over?
Knocking all this shit over. So,
what do you have for during that time?
So, we go back to Haiti, and we're back to the heartbreaking, long-ass Duvalier regime. And so, it's in May 28, 1976, which is like the exact date that Chiron goes into Taurus. The people that were exiled from Haiti are working to overthrow Duvalier. Problem. So here, for those who don't know, and also as like additional correction in regards to like dates, I got the actual dates. So it's the father and the son. There's Papa Doc, which, you know, niggas got nicknames. Papa Doc, 1957 to 1971. All right. So that's most of all the things. And then from 1971, it goes to Baby Duck until 1986. And so those who are exiled to the U.S. or that escaped for survival are working diligently to free Haiti from this regime. This is where it gets additionally interesting. Oh wait, not yet. That's a different time frame, but we'll see how Chiron kind of coming back around completes a cycle. So that's what's going on all of that time. In Puerto Rico, well, this is not even in Puerto Rico. This is in the U.S. Just like a little funny tidbit. Muhammad Ali was distracted by our Puerto Rican baddie, Edith Chacon, known for having a body. Okay. She was the body before the body existed.
Okay.
He was mid fight, and there's like even a picture that I found on Facebook where he's just staring at that ass, and the other dude is like, "We're fighting right now," and she looking back at it, and I was like, "Listen." And there's like multiple articles about this thing, so I'm like, okay, it's not AI. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was a little like funny moment there. And then the not so funny, the IRS is implemented in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And the new code allows U.S. companies to make profit in Puerto Rico with no taxes. Banks grew unprecedentedly, and 100,000 Puerto Ricans ended up depending on employment generated by Section 936 companies. So I'm assuming the companies that came were the ones providing employment because, of course, that's how being colonized works. The final coat of arms was also approved and entered into law. The Partido Renovación Puertorriqueña is founded. I want to research more on that because I'm not aware of this partido. And then El Morro becomes a World Heritage Site. That's what I got for 1976. Did you already mention 1983 or we're not there yet?
Yeah, I did my full shebang.
Okay. So what I have for 1983 is that's when revolts really started like gaining headway against the baby doc. And it forced Reagan to reassess U.S. support for the Duvalier regime. And I found that so interesting. And by 1986, there was a U.S. supported coup that dislodged the regime. Are y'all listening?
If you're not watching us on YouTube, y'all can't see our faces.
Right.
If
that's
you
true.
are,
If you know,
we're making some faces.
Yeah, because the fact that Duvalier was supported by the US all of this time, and this is what I keep telling people, a lot of like Duvalier is the most bloody, vicious, dehumanizing, destabilizing points of Haitian contemporary political history. He came in like, I am one of your people, and was the worst thing that has happened.
It do be your own. It be your own sometimes.
But it's always that with the help of.
It's the colonized mind. In the grand scheme of
that's
things,
literally what it is.
It's the colonized mind. And yeah.
And so they put them there and then they removed them. Because the revolts were becoming effective. And they only did a US supported coup, and this is my thoughts. Because had the people removed them on their own without any support, the outcomes would have been real different. And US intervention would have been a lot harder to happen if the people fully did it by themselves. But that's another story for another day. that's what I got for the things. I don't know. I don't know if I saw anything for Puerto Rico. I may have overlooked it, to be honest. Because Duvalier is something so visceral and so personal to the story of my own existence that it's just like it's the things that you wake up and you listen and you hear the whispers, and you also learn the yearning of wanting to be in your own country and not being able to be in your own country, the suffering, and it's going on now, right? And it's always when you trace and you look at who is involved and what is part of the destabilization, you kind of understand that it's not voodoo that is the problem, because people love to say that. It's people being interested in pillaging resources and doing whatever they want to. It is empire. It is colonization. It is paying for being the first Black Republic and no one ever allowing Haiti to be pardoned for teaching Black folks liberation through spirituality.
Correct. And because I know somebody may be like, well, Haiti's not the officially the first Black Republic because we was kings and stuff and all of that before then.
That's
We're talking
cool.
about we're talking about modern history post transatlantic slave trade, which
Right.
quite literally changed the direction of the world. So I
Yeah.
want to clarify that because I was
Like, yeah, there was free Black countries, places, continents, but to fight for liberation after slavery is it's a different ball game completely.
It is, and
Versus not being bothered.
correct. And I think that's a perfect segue to now what's happening. Well, we are filming this December 22nd. Y'all are watching this after this, and we have not yet entered Chiron and Taurus. But like I'm saying, like Uranus gave us a little glimpse to create some upheaval. And so I guess basically we can go on ahead into predictions already. And I think this goes back to some of our earlier episodes about what does being stable look like for a country that is fighting for identity, that is fighting for its ideal, because as Chiron goes into Taurus, the U.S. will be going through we celebrate 250 years of the Declaration of Independence, so revisiting the American experiment.
And empires die every 250 years. I just want you to know that.
Always. And people like, so what does that mean? I've talked extensively, like behind Patreon, about America's spirit will always be, right? Not the white man. I'm not saying we're not done with it. We're talking about the American democracy, that the idea of it, how it should be implemented, actually came from indigenous democracies, not the Roman Republic. Stop thinking that's where a lot of this came from. It did not. You can go talk to my indigenous cousins down the street in Mississippi Choctaw. They can tell you how it is, how it was, and how it's gonna be. Okay, but so much.
So Turtle Island, right? Like that. That was the original name. Is like and I'm sure it has its own other names as well. And so,
and I'm just like, Chiron and Taurus, I think, is also going to be for the US. Like, what is your self-worth attached to, for real, right? I think Jupiter and Cancer is helping with that, right? Going back to what is community, like who most Americans, like, self-worth or to be an American feels so low because it's like it's grappling with the actual misimplementation of the American idea of liberation, pursuit of happiness. Most Americans do not even know, cannot communicate what happiness means for them, right? We talked about how a lot of people are passively suicidal, right, due to a lack of resources in a country that can easily provide the resources to their people. Like, we may be talking about the destabilization of urban cities within the United States because we've gotten too big. So we're like that as a person who is coming or coming to her true expertise in her field and seeing like the layout of the land plus astrology. I am worried about our mega cities. Like, I'm worried about LA, Chicago, Detroit, New York, Charlotte, Atlanta, Houston. Now, I'm worried because Chiron and Taurus is going to come in because a lot of those cities have huge Gemini, Cancer, and Taurus placements. Where are these major planets of change, asteroids of change in these cities? And we're talking about Chiron and Taurus coming in and saying, like, you need to heal. Right now, the U.S. has a urbanization problem of urban sprawl. Has a huge problem. Yeah. They are not stable. What does that look like as Chiron and Taurus comes in? Neptune and Aries, Saturn and Aries, Uranus, these huge planets of change, while the U.S. is also grappling with, who am I? Black Americans have been grappling with, like, how can I come to terms I am both African and American? How do I come to terms as a Black American? Like, how do I come to terms with being spiritual and material? Like, how do I come to terms with that when the material is connected to the imperialism that I never got to benefit from? Black Americans,
you were never supposed to.
You were never supposed to. Black people's bodies are still the capital in the United States. Who are the main manufacturers outside of poor whites? Who are the main people still in the warehouses? Who are these people? Like, and I think for Chiron and Taurus, for the Americans, I would say, like, Americans are still patriotic, or we would not still be fighting at the city and state levels for our rights. You still love where you are. You still love the idea that anybody can come here and can make some shake.
And I would also add to the fact of, like, this is why everyone is also fighting for each other here, right? The immigrant people who aren't immigrants are fighting for the immigrants. People who are migrants with papers are fighting for those who are undocumented. We're trying to protect one another because that is, on an indigenous spiritual level, what has always been.
You cannot like not think that. Like, you cannot not think that when most of the cities and states are named after something indigenous. Hello, are we? It's not. And you know, it goes like somebody tweeted. There was like, I know there is nobody a good astrologer in the White House right now, because ain't no way y'all making these moves during these transits
at all.
And it makes me laugh because
keep weaponizing your incompetence and cheers to that astrologer, because the downfall is coming.
Like, it's crazy work. And I think we have to kind of, now I'm like, you know, it's more, I think this kind of also ties back to Jupiter and Cancer. We talk about like sexual stuff as well, like this aggression. And somebody was like, have recently put on Facebook, girl, Memphis Facebook is like some of the funniest places to be on the internet. Because don't make no sense. The deep thought don't get no sense. Because somebody was like, why are all the, young, YNs, why are y'all 15 to 17 killing folks? When I was 15 to 17, I was trying to dip in, sexually. They were trying to do some things, right? And I said,
Yeah.
and somebody said,
run-of-the-mill content is just killing all of the possibilities.
And somebody was like, well, that's because they are not being able to socialize and explore correctly. And so that sexual energy turns into aggression, which makes sense, right? And Chiron,
it's also scary with Saturn and
Chiron in Aries and Jupiter, what you were saying about Jupiter, Cancer, Chiron in Aries, and Saturn and Neptune about to get in Aries. And here come Chiron in Taurus, like scratching that wound about sexual life and pleasure.
Right.
So maybe a positive could be us more exploring pleasure, because it also is opening up that wound revolving around art as well. So I think we're starting to see a lot of creatives process during the age of stealing creativity from AI.
Yeah.
With AI. Yeah. Like, I think Chiron Taurus is going to be such an interesting time, but I think it can provide us a way. I think like the book Pleasure Activism, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I think it was ahead of its time. I think it's going to have a resurgence.
Oh, I'll come back and I haven't finished it, so I think that would be a great time to finish it.
Yeah, and so I think there's gonna be a bigger talk about BDSM as healing.
Makes sense.
And I think with fashion, we've already started to talk about fast fashion, how it hurts things, and how a lot of us do not want all that plastic, all that polyester woo, nylon. We don't want all of that, and so much even the big fashion brands are switching on to plastic, while the general public is like, where is my cotton drawers?
And why is it so expensive?
Hello? I said, wasn't nobody thinking, like, just because we stopped enslavement, that does not mean that the U.S. should have stopped production of cotton.
Period. You have found machines to do that. Stop playing.
Hello.
Yeah.
Shout out to, it is a brand that black brand. They produce cotton and cotton-based clothes. So they do I think that's a way to kind of heal that wound. I think maybe Chiron and Taurus is also a time for black people from the U.S. South to get back in contact with the land, to kind of heal those wounds that deal with land.
Yes.
But yeah, they do have a cotton brand, and I think New York Fashion Week, whatever one of these fashion weeks that just happened, they was there promoting.
That's cool.
Are working with some of the black-owned businesses here in Memphis. Because we just down the street. The cotton grow here,
Okay.
We were King Cotton. I'd be like, oh yeah. I'm glad we are all on the same type of time, because there's been conversation behind closed doors. With me and my friends about some things, and now that I'm like, we've been yapping about Chiron and Taurus, I was like, oh, is that what that is?
That's exactly
is that what that is? So I do really think
Taurus placement will not be wearing unnatural fibers. Right. So the way that Chiron in Taurus is about to have everybody like, I will re-dye this shit. And wear it.
You know how I'd be like, what is it? I don't like that.
Because like there used to be nylon for certain things. There used to be polyester for certain things, but now it's in everything.
And it's messing up your
everything.
Your glands. I've been looking more into gym clothing that does not include so much, because like especially if you're a runner or you have ankle or knee, you need compression. So sometimes that that compression
you need a little bit
But I'm a sweater, but I don't care that much that people can see me sweat. Y'all know how this works.
That's okay.
So I've been like trying to look at more brands if I'm not doing cardio running that I can wear that's more cotton. Like the fact that so many of our sweaters are not wool anymore. I said during climate change is crazy. That's what we need the most. Because today may be 60, tomorrow is gonna be 34. We need to figure it out. Like
yeah.
It's the winter time.
So for me, Chiron and Taurus, I think we're gonna have discussions about the inequities of weed. We will be posting a link of Dr. Howell's included in the Florida Constitution policy, whatever. She know the big words. They used it to make laws and stuff. That's going to be in the comments. But I think that what you were discussing around your master's program thesis, because we got to say the things correctly, will be a topic for discussion. I think weed will need to be reconfigured, especially in the overtly recreational spaces. But I also think that there may be new discoveries or applications for it in the medical realm. Go ahead.
Before I lose this download, Liz did a short thing on her Substack about alcohol and spirits and everything. So one of the things when I was doing my my master's thesis was about medical marijuana implementation in Florida. So I mapped the dispensaries. I pulled the things about how much people were prescribing through the doctors. I went through the history of marijuana, all of that. And one of the things that came up with how it was implemented in Colorado medically and recreationally is that they follow the same advertisement as alcohol. And I, as a root working woman, I have told people, I said, y'all are abusing the marijuana plants. Y'all have reconfigured it to a point that it cannot do the proper healing. The healing part of the plant is the cannabinoids, so CBD, CBG. And because they have misimplemented it, people are having the same addictions to it that they have to alcohol.
And this is where I'm saying people are going to have to learn not to self-medicate and abuse weed while Chiron is in Taurus. And it's going to be harder, right? We're also going to understand the addiction portion of weed during Chiron and Taurus, because right now, because it's so available, and this is also like, I do enjoy from time to time, but it's so available that it still makes me nervous, because this is the same issue around alcohol, right? The normalization, the almost being forced to engage with it, the questioning if you don't wish to engage with it, I think will be a conversation that will be had during Chiron and Taurus, and being able to understand and equate how some of these things, because it's not your plug, because it's not homegrown, because in many places where it's recreational, you can't grow your own stuff. Where it's medicinal, you definitely can't as well. And you'll start to realize people are going to go back to what we all used to do, right? Like, you used to know a plug. This is where you get it from, because it's closer to the natural versions versus these like, this 16, like the 900 millionth strain that does this actual thing and tastes like Fruit Loops. Nigga.
It's supposed to taste like a plant. I think, so here's the thing with, I think,
Also Chiron and Taurus, because Taurus rules the throat.
Okay.
I think we're also going to see a decrease in them other things. What's the ones that everybody, the vape?
Public health PSA. We have been trying to get once everyone basically stopped smoking tobacco. Big tobacco came out with the vapes. And because language is important, how you write something, how you explain, how you patent something, it has allowed them to go around big tobacco laws, and vapes are worse than cigarettes. There is no real filter. This is the people who are vaping with marijuana, the Delta 8, Delta 9s. I've been saying this for years.
Those are actually illegal.
Like Delta 8, Delta 9, you should not trust it. It's the reason why certain states do not have it. Why if your state does not have legal, recreational, and or medical marijuana, why have they legalized Delta 8 or Delta 9 in your state?
And to add a layer to that, I was actually looking up Delta 8 for something, and they are no longer sold. They're actually going to be sold through another company that I have seen, and I'm just like, why are y'all bringing this back? Because the reason why Delta 8 and Delta 9 are no longer sold is because people would have bad trips. I am also people.
Listen, people do not understand this. It is a hallucinogen. It is why certain people cannot do that they cannot smoke, they cannot eat, they cannot ingest that, because marijuana, the THC, is a hallucinogen, and it depresses your nervous system, so your body cannot even react. It cannot do its healing process if you're too inebriated with it. I need you to understand, if you're going to love on a plant, this is everything. This is like, I'm giving y'all gems. For those of y'all who are trying to be root workers, you cannot work with a plant if you do not know the bad and the good to it. You cannot. Everything on this earth can and will kill you. Everything.
Excess. Anything in excess.
As a person who has an allium allergy, as in I cannot do garlic, onion, chives, and leeks. These are antibacterial, antiviral. Don't you give me some of that mess, I'm gonna beat your ass from the upper room. Okay? Like these, and so I just want people, we need to engage in things critically. The beautiful thing about marijuana, right, is that it's what we call, it's called a polyploid. As in, we can reconfigure it. It can lay fruit with anything. Shout out to AP Biology. Right. Old classmate Dion, and rest in peace to Quay. They the one who, we had a section. Everybody had to teach a section or a chapter, and they taught some botany, plant stuff, and they used the marijuana as the plant, and how they taught the chapter. But they also the doughboys, so they really knew what they talk about, right? And so, this is how
I see you.
Yeah. And so I learned about marijuana from a very young age, and I also saw the side effects. A lot of young people who have schizophrenic genetics talking about, they changed. I bet they did change. First, you're going through puberty. It's a lot going on. And you had a gene, and you were smoking some strain that was not the original strain. As your body is growing, it clicked over a gene.
Yep.
I do not believe, I'm very protective of the kids. So
kids should not be. I'm so sorry. There's so many drugs.
It's harmful. It is. It's harmless. It's not harmless. You've never been in a peds emergency room or ICU, and nothing is helping a child that has gotten a hold to some gummies. And they can't do certain things, and the child knows nothing but to just cry. And they have to pump things into the child to get the substance out so the child can pee it out. They have to put it. Y'all have not seen that. And so we are saying here, as people who do indulge time to time,
be mindful. Be mindful. Also, the same thing with my article around alcohol and spiritualism and different things. Know why that weed was created and cultivated, because your body will respond differently to different kinds of things. It's the same with alcohol. It's the same with anything that America designs as recreational. If there are, me personally, if Black folks are the one creating the things, if they are the ones cultivating the things, I have learned and I have realized it does not affect my body the same way as buying it from a white corporate situation. And that's alcohol. Look at the history of that alcohol. If it says 18 something, you don't want that as a Black person. Look at where things come from. Your body is the first temple and it is the first altar. And we're going to be learning that more in Chiron in Taurus. I think what will happen is a wave of being more in our bodies, because we're going to have all of that Aries and this Chiron in Taurus. And we're going to listen more because we won't have a choice. What I'll also say is start masking again. If you aren't masking, start masking again. Because Taurus rules the neck, which ultimately is like the throat.
Right.
It's part of your respiratory system. And as a country that has a problem with diseases from the 1800s and back returning. Beautiful things. Do we have positive things? What positive things?
Well, we talked about sensuality and everything. I think
all of y'all trad people and overly Christianized people and overly don't have sex people and all of that,
break every chain.
Y'all gonna change y'all mind.
Break every chain. Going back to the alcohol thing, just because a celebrity has endorsed any alcohol, that does not mean they have their hands in it. Right. And so I'm talking about Black celebrity, because there's a lot of brands, there's a lot. But I think revisiting stability and, we talked about the multi-housing family thing in Jupiter and Cancer. I think Chiron and Taurus will really let's really talk about some things.
Oh, and also cash.
Please. Oh, that's the real thing. Chiron.
That's the real.
That is why that's why the penny thing is concerning. You need to have cash on you. You need to learn how to barter.
Keep your pennies.
Always have cash on you. Learn how to barter.
If you have a safe, use it.
If you,
we're talking cash. We're talking jewelry. We're talking gold. Unfortunately, even if it is stolen from Africa, we're talking have some larger percentage of your money.
If you gotta be like me and hide money from yourself in your jackets and all your purses,
hide money from yourself.
Then do it. Okay, surprise yourself.
Do what you gotta do.
Since farming and manufacturing has been right now, we have a lot of our lumber mills. So
Mm.
shutting down. Here's the thing, y'all. So food insecurity is a
Mm-hmm.
thing. Food insecurity
Mm-hmm.
has been a thing, while Chiron has been a Taurus before. Here's the thing. People are like, oh yeah, you should have been doing a community gardens and growing your own food. It's the reason why, as
We can't
populations
do
get
everything.
bigger, we had to go to bigger manufacturing and bigger farming. There's a reason for that. People who do not know
Yeah.
how to, I'm not gonna say that. It's gonna be with me. Listen, it is hard. It's very hard to do things for large populations. Very hard to help y'all change your health behaviors. Very hard to help y'all heal. But I would say, if you can, maybe you should start growing if you have certain things that you can grow in a little pot. If you can plant an orange, apple, plum tree,
Something.
do it. It's going to take a while. Real growth
Yep.
takes a while. I don't
Why not?
necessarily trust all of the new ways to
Yep.
grow stuff in your apartments, because planting in soil also helps.
The water
Hydroponic. I was like,
polyphonic.
yeah, I said
I
all
don't
these
know.
things.
Hydroponic. That's the right word.
I said it's something about planting something into the soil and all the plants helping each other be a thing. Like, I don't know.
It's an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem. Yeah, so maybe that's the thing. Let's get back to ecosystem.
And it's the holistic one.
Yeah.
And ecosystems include, right, putting native plants that support the ecosystems. So if you're not a fruit farmer or whatever, you don't know how to put a potato in the earth and let that motherfucker grow. Now all of us have that ability. You can also change your lawn to something that is native to your wherever you live. And it helps the birds, it helps the bees, it helps pollinate, it helps. Those are other things. Have an herb garden, right? Do things that agree with where you are. It makes it easier, and you don't have to worry about excess water, excess waste. Because what is the lawn? The lawn was created in order to, one, disconnect you from the native plants and healing herbs that are there. And it is also a source of just a pissing contest of wealth. It doesn't provide anything for the land that you are on. And so all additional things to consider and to think about. And it don't have to be all of your lawn if you got a big ass lawn, but you could do a little patch. There are different people do this kind of work as well. But also get to bartering. There will be a time where that cash you will use, but also if you know how to bake, somebody else don't know how to bake, but they know how to sew. If they don't know how to sew, they know how to put jars of peaches and stuff and preserves to get to work, y'all. Y'all talk about community. Part of community is realizing everybody doesn't need 15 tools. We need to start using each other's tools. We need to start knocking on each other's doors. Hey, you got sugar? Hey, you got a hammer? Do you need something? I have this. That is how we keep ourselves together, because shit is about to get really hard financially. People are already passively and also more actively suicidal because we are isolated, because we're under resourced, and because we're all trying to live individualistic lives. And it just won't work term, especially if there is a financial crisis. We're going to have to get creative. And that is the end of my soapbox, y'all.
And that is pretty much the end of the episode too.
Good luck to everyone.
Good luck. Hopefully
So we'll have happier episodes coming.
I swear we will, but and this felt so like this needs to go
We
roll
will.
out. This needs to go roll out, and so let us know y'all thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who's been watching and listening.
Yeah.
What you say?
What was going on in your sector of the world and your culture and your countries?
Yes.
I'm just like ideas. Like if y'all got additional ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not to fearmonger.
Yeah.
It's not to fearmonger, but it is to stay ready so you don't gotta get ready. And it's better to look like an over-prepared fool than an underprepared one.
What you was gonna say? I just wanna be prepared. Yeah. Aries Queen.
I just wanna be prepared. Ooh, music will be good though.
No, for
music
real.
will be good though.
Music is about to be way better in the coming years. Amen.
Music is gonna be great. Yeah. So, period. Be easy, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
See y'all next time.